It is Tolkien's 132nd birthday today. I had muted my microphone while I was getting ready to make sure that the stream would work right. So, yeah. Can you hear me now? $132nd for Tolkien. Yep. He can hear me. I'm having fun with this new live stream. Okay. Sweet. How's everyone feeling? How's Christina, Colin? Good. We toasting? So the tradition is to toast at 9 p.m. She is good, growing fast. Okay. Trying to figure out how to share a screen. Okay. Tolkien's birthday. Toast. All right. We're going to present. Did you know it's Cicero's birthday too? No. I'll be honest, I did not know that. All right. So, Tolkien birthday toast. What is the Tolkien birthday toast? Each year on the 3rd of January, the Tolkien Society encourages Tolkien fans from across the world to celebrate the professor's birthday with a simple toast drinking ceremony. At 9 p.m. your local time, simply raise a glass and toast the birthday of this much-loved author. The toast is simply the professor. All you need to do is stand, raise a glass of your choice of drink, not necessarily alcoholic, and say the words, the professor, before taking a sip or swig if that's more appropriate for your drink. Sit and enjoy the rest of your drink. Note that we do not condone drinking alcohol if it endangers the health or safety of the drinker or others, or contravenes the law. And then all these people did this toast, so... anyway, that's what we are doing. Good. We toasting. So we are going to toast on at 9 p.m. So here in about 24 minutes. Cicero's birthday. Ryan, let's look at that. January 3rd, 106 BC. Can't believe that they kept records of that for so long. I'll be raising a green dragon mug. Oh! I'm going to have to ask Crystal to get mine. It's in our room. Okay. Oh, Crystal, you're on the Substack. I didn't realize that. Thank you. My green dragon mug, all the way from New Zealand. How's Audrey? How's mom doing? I'm cracking my Waterloo. I'm a little thirsty. Just a little thirsty. Okay. We already went over this. Cicero's birthday. Yeah, I had no idea. A coworker actually let me know. So that's when a coworker let me know that it was Tolkien's birthday and that there was a special thing to do. So I just responded to him, well, I'm live streaming my toast because I have this awesome studio set up now that doubles as a living room and guest room. So might as well use it, right? Everyone, thanks for joining. My 3 loyal fans, my wife, my brother, and my creative partner, Ryan. Well, I thought it'd be fitting to read part of my favorite chapter from Lord of the Rings. Audrey is doing good. I will be swinging Coke Zero as we watch Skeleton Crew. Is that good? I've seen some people putting reviews on come on. Of Skeleton Crew. Okay, I'm not going to try to figure that out right now. Okay. Book 5, Minas Tirith. Okay. So one of my favorite chapters of The Lord of the Rings takes place in Return of the King, Chapter 1, Minas Tirith. This chapter is told from Pippin's perspective, and I love it because it's kind of, he's this tiny little hobbit, and it shows his perspective as he as the world opens up. So we are going to really enjoy it. It's like a pirate story in Star Wars, so it's a pretty cool idea. Yeah. Colin, when does it take place? Is it BBY or ABY? Okay. So that'd be ABY. 5 to 10 years after Return of the Jedi. Nice. Nice. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and start reading this. Pippin looked out from the shelter of Gandalf's cloak. He wondered if he was awake or still sleeping, still in the swift-moving dream in which he had been wrapped so long since the great ride began. The dark world was rushing by and the wind sang loudly in his ears. He could see nothing but the wheeling stars, and away to his right vast shadows against the sky where the mountains of the south marched past. Sleepily he tried to reckon the times and stages of their journey, but his memory was drowsy and uncertain. There had been the first ride at terrible speed without a halt, and then in the dawn he had seen a pale gleam of gold, and they had come to the silent town of the great empty house on the hill. And hardly had they reached its shelter when the winged shadow had passed over them once again, and men wilted with fear. But Gandalf had spoken soft words to him, and he slept in a corner, tired but uneasy, dimly aware of comings and goings, and of men talking and Gandalf giving orders, and then again writing in the night. This was the second, no, the third night since he had looked in the stone, and with that hideous memory he woke fully and shivered, and the noise of the wind became filled with menacing voices. Okay. Sorry, I got a text from work. I had to see if it was urgent. A light kindled in the sky, a blaze of yellow fire behind dark barriers. Pippin cowered back, afraid for a moment, wondering into what dreadful country Gandalf was bearing him. He rubbed his eyes, and then he saw that it was the moon rising above the eastern shadows, now almost at the full. So the night was not yet old, and for hours the dark journey would go on. He stirred and spoke. "Where are we, Gandalf?" he asked. "In the realm of Gondor," the wizard answered. "The land of Anorion is still passing by." There was silence again for a while. "Then what is that?" cried Pippin, suddenly clutching at Gandalf's cloak. "Look! Fire! Red fire! Are there dragons in this land? Look, there is another." For answer, Gandalf cried aloud to his horse. "On, Shadowfax! We must hasten. Time is short. See, the beacons of Gondor are alight, calling for aid. War is kindled. See, there is the fire on Amundine, and flame on Ilanok. And there they go speeding west. Nardol, Erelas, Minrumin, Calenhad, and the Halifirian on the borders of Rohan." Sorry, some of these names I don't quite know, so trying to read them on the spot is a little difficult. But Shadowfax paused in his stride, slowing to a walk, and then he lifted up his head and neighed. And out of the darkness, the answering neigh of the other horses came, and presently the thudding of hooves was heard, and 3 riders swept up and passed like flying ghosts in the moon and vanished into the west. Then Shadowfax gathered himself together and sprang away, and the night flowed over him like a roaring wind. Pippin became drowsy again and paid little attention to Gandalf, telling him of the customs of Gondor and how the lord of the city had beacons built on the tops of outlying hills along both borders of the great range, and maintained posts at these points where fresh horses were always in readiness to bear his errand riders to Rohan in the north, or to Belfalas in the Belfalas in the south. "It is long since the beacons of the north were lit," he said. "In the ancient days of Gondor they were not needed, for they had the 7 stones." Pippin stirred uneasily. "Sleep again and do not be afraid," said Gandalf, "for you are not going like Frodo to Mordor, but to Minas Tirith. And there you will be as safe as you can be anywhere in these days. If Gondor falls or the ring is taken, then the Shire will be no refuge. You do not comfort me, said Pippin, but nonetheless sleep crept over him. The last thing he remembered before he fell into deep dream was a glimpse of high white peaks glimmering like floating isles above the clouds as they caught the light of the westering moon. He wondered where Frodo was and if he was already in Mordor or if he was dead, and he did not know that Frodo from far away looked on that same moon as it set beyond Gondor ere the coming of the day. Pippin woke to the sound of voices. Another day of hiding and a night of journey had fleeted by. It was twilight. The cold dawn was at hand again, and chill gray mists were about them. Shadowfax stood steaming with sweat. Shadowfax stood steaming with sweat, but he held his neck proudly and showed no sign of weariness. Many tall men, heavily cloaked, stood behind him, and behind them in the mist loomed a wall of stone. Partly ruinous, it seemed, but already, before the night was past, the sound of hurried labor could be heard. Beat of hammers, clink of trowels, and the creak of wheels. Torches and flares glowed dully here and there in the fog. Gandalf was speaking to the men that barred his way. As he listened, Pippin became aware that he himself was being discussed. Yea, truly, we know you, Mithrandir, said the leader of the men. And you know the passwords of the 7 gates and are free to go forward. But we do not know your companion. What is he, a dwarf out of the mountains in the north? We wish no strangers in the land at this time, unless they be mighty men of arms in whose faith and help we can trust. I will vouch for him before the seat of Denethor, said Gandalf. And as for valor, that cannot be computed by stature. He has passed through more battles and perils than you have, in gold, though you be twice his height, and he comes now from the storming of Isengard, of which we bear tidings, and great weariness is on him, or I would wake him. His name is Peregrine, a very valiant man. Man? Said Ingold dubiously, and the others laughed. Man, cried Pippin, now thoroughly roused. Man, indeed not. I am a hobbit, and no more valiant than I am a man, save perhaps now and again by necessity. Do not let Gandalf deceive you. Many a doer of great deeds might say no more, said Ingold. But what is a hobbit? A halfling, answered Gandalf. Nay, not the one that was spoken of, he added, seeing the wonder in the men's faces. Not he, yet one of his kindred. Yes, and one who journeyed with him, said Pippin, and Boromir of your city was with us, and he saved me in the snows of the north, and at last he was slain defending me from many foes. Peace, said Gandalf. The news of that grief should not be told first to the father. Should have been told first to the father. It has been guessed already, said Ingold, for there have been strange portents here of late. But pass on now quickly, for the Lord of Minas Tirith will be eager to see any that bear the latest tidings of his son, be he man or hobbit, said Pippin. Little service can I offer to you, Lord, but what I can do, I would do, remembering Boromir the brave. Fare you well, said Ingold, and the men made way for Shadowfax, and he passed through a narrow gate in the wall. May you bring good counsel to Denethor in his need, and to us all, Mithrandir. Ingold cried. But you come with tidings of grief and danger. It is your wont, they say. Because I come seldom, but when my help is needed, answered Gandalf. And as for counsel, to you I would say that you are overlate in repairing the wall of Pelennor. Courage will now be your best defense against the storm that is at hand. That and such hope as I bring. For not all the tidings that I bring are evil, but leave your trolls and sharpen your swords. The work will be finished ere evening, said Ingold. This is the last portion of the wall to be put in defense, the least open to attack, for it looks towards our friends of Rohan. Do you know aught of them? Will they answer the summons, think you? Yes, they will come, but they have many battles at your back. This road and no road looks toward safety any longer. Be vigilant. But for Gandalf Stormcrow, you would have seen a host of foes coming out of a Norian, and no riders of Rohan. And you may yet fare you well and sleep not. Good stuff. Alrighty. All right, we got about 8 more minutes here. I'm just going to keep on plugging away. Gandalf passed now into the wide land beyond Ramas Ekor. So the men of Gondor called the outwall that they had built with great labor. After Ithilien fell under the shadow of their enemy, for 10 leagues or more it ran from the mountain's feet, and so back again, enclosing in its fence the fields of the Pelennor, fair and fertile townlands on the long slopes and terraces falling to the deep levels of the Anduin. At its furthest point from the great gate of the city, northeastward, the wall was 4 leagues distant, and there from a frowning bank it overlooked the long flats beside the river. And men had made it high and strong, for at that point, upon a walled causeway, the road came in from the fords and bridges of Osgiliath, and passed through a guarded gate between embattled towers. At its nearest point, the wall was little more than 1 league from the city, and that was southeastward. There, Anduin, going in a wide knee about the hills of Emin Arnon, in South Ithilien, bent sharply west, and the outwall rose upon its very brink. And beneath it lay the quays and landings of the Harland for craft that came upstream from the southern fiefs. My voice is getting a little. Ryan's a mod. Time to revolt. Hannah, he's a. Come on now. He's a manager on the YouTube channel because he posts to it. Could he kick you off? That'd be hilarious if he did. That's tempting. Please don't. I'm listening to nerd stuff. Hey, you have access to the same nerd stuff. It's Return of the King, Chapter 1. 5 minutes. According to my Kindle, I have an hour and 14 minutes left in the chapter, so I don't think I'll finish it. The townlands were rich, with wide tilth and many orchards, and homesteads there were with oast and garner, fold and byre, and many rills rippling through the green, from the highlands down to Anduin. Yet the herdsmen and husbandmen that dwelt there were not many, and the most part of the people of Gondor lived in the 7 circles of the city, or in the high vales of the mountain borders, in Lossarnach, or further south in fair Lebanon, with its 5 swift streams. There dwelt a hardy folk between the mountains and the sea. They were reckoned men of Gondor, yet their blood was mingled, and they were short and swarthy folk among them, whose sires came more from the forgotten men who housed in the shadow of the hills in the dark years ere the coming of the kings. But beyond, in the great fief of Belfalos, dwelt Prince Imrahil in his castle Dol Amroth by the sea, and he was of high blood, and his folk also tall men and proud with sea-gray eyes. Now after Gandalf had ridden for some time, the light of day grew in the sky, and Pippin roused himself and looked up. To his left lay a sea of mist rising to a bleak shadow in the east, but to his right great mountains reared their heads, ranging from the west to a steep and sudden end, as if in the making of the land the river had burst through a great barrier, carving out a mighty valley to be a land of battle and debate in times to come. And there, where the white mountains of Ered Nimrais came to their end, he saw, as Gandalf had promised, the dark mass Mount Mindoluin, the deep purple shadows of its high glens, and its tall face whitening in the rising day. And upon its outthrust knee was the guarded city, with its 7 walls of stone so strong and old that it seemed to have been not builded but carven by giants out of the bones of the earth. Ah, man. Ryan has his drink ready. Oh boy. The things we do for our nerdy husbands, like listening to a LOTR live stream on a Friday night. Lol. Yes, Crystal. I love that Tolkien convinced everyone to spell elves too. Yeah, if my recollection is correct, he like went back because he'd read it at some point that it was spelled the way he spelled it, and then someone tried to, his editor or someone, but he went back and found like the source material in which, yeah, what to explain why he spelled it the way he did. I think LOTR is harder to say than Lord of the Rings. I just say Lauder. Latter Day Saints. All right, I'm going to see if I can get through this next part. Even as Pippin gazed in wonder, the walls passed from looming gray to white, blushing faintly in the dawn, and suddenly the sun climbed over the eastern shadow and sent forth a shaft that smote the face of the city. Then Pippin cried aloud, for the tower of Ecthelion, standing high within the topmost wall, shone out against the sky, glimmering like a spike of pearl and silver, tall and fair and shapely, and his pinnacle glittered his pinnacle glittered as if it were wrought of silvers, and white banners broke and fluttered from the battlements in the morning breeze. And high and far he heard a clear ringing as of silver trumpets. I love that line because it is from Boromir says it in Fellowship of the Ring, the movie. Latter-day Saints, yes. This toast is about to... Oh, it's 9. I'm pouring my drink now. I decided not to use the green dragon mug. Crystal's using that. This says, Hail the Victorious Dead. So now we stand up and say, this is awkward. I don't like that. I'm still standing, I promise. The Professor. No kisses tonight. Shake my head. Girl, you're the one with the wine glass in your YouTube picture there. I have been smited. All right, I'm going to keep moving on. I'm skipping a little bit, but this is my favorite, literally my favorite part of this chapter. For the fashion of Minas Tirith was such that it was built on 7 levels, each delved into the hill, and about each was set a wall, and in each wall was a gate. But the gates were not set in a line. The great gate in the city wall was at the east point of the circuit, but the next faced half south, and the third half north, and so to and fro upwards, so that the paved way that climbed towards the citadel turned first this way and then that across the face of the hill. And each time that it passed the line of the great gate, it went through an arched tunnel, piercing a vast pier of rock, whose huge outthrust bulk divided into all the circles of the city save the first, for partly in the primeval shaping of the hill, partly by the mighty craft and labor of old, there stood up from the rear of the wide court behind the gate a towering bastion of stone, its edge sharp as a ship keel facing east. Up it rose, even to the level of the topmost circle, and there was crowned by a battlement, so that those in the citadel might, like mariners in a mountainous ship, look from its peak sheer down upon the gate 700 feet below. The entrance to the citadel also looked eastward, but was delved in the heart of the rock. Thence a long lamp-lit slope ran up to the 7th gate. Thus men reached at last the high court, and the place of the fountain before the feet of the white tower, tall and shapely, 50 fathoms from its base to the pinnacle, where the banner of the stewards floated 1,000 feet above the plain. So yeah, that is my favorite part of the book series. Okay. Good stuff. So yeah, that is my favorite chapter. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I do think it's fitting to read the Silmarillion. We'll just start with like chapter 1 or something. Thanks for everyone showing up in the chat. It's mostly my friends and my wife, but I appreciate that, everybody. Got 8 people watching. This is my most popular live stream ever. Cheers. What is everybody drinking? It's just an ale. Good way to honor. This says Hail the Victorious Dead. It was a gift for being a groomsman in a wedding. Let's see here. Next, we're going to go over to water. Yeah, Crystal's drinking water. Sure. Red wine for me. Cheers. That must be Axel. Red wine for me. That's a line from The Hobbit, isn't it? Gandalf is asked what he should by one of the dwarves if they want anything to drink, if he wants something, and he says, "Oh, and not for me. I'll take a glass of red wine. Red wine for me." Yepers. Redacted? Hannah, what's redacted? You guys are sidetracking me. Don't know why my avatar is WBR. Good evening, all. Glad to find others who celebrate his birthday toast. Bourbon Stacker. Greetings. I'm not sure. I think you're the only person that I don't know personally. How's it going? Welcome. Cheers. Bourbon Stacker. I hardly know her. Not a mystery what I'm drinking. That's good stuff. Good stuff. All right, guys, I keep getting distracted by the chat. I'm trying to read. I was going to read Silmarillion. The Fall of Gondolin, which one do I read, though? No spoilers. Hey, I got news for you, Ryan. If you read the Silmarillion, you're going to forget everything that happened by the time just trust me. There's this awesome line somewhere. I got to find it. It's going to take me a while. The Sindar, Sun and Moon, and the Hiding of Valinor. Bourbon Stacker, thank you for joining us. It's awesome to see new people. Well, I probably won't be able to find it, but I don't think it was the Fall of Gondolin. But basically, there's this awesome chapter in which, what are your thoughts on the stuff Tolkien's son helped finish after J.R.'s death? Okay, that's something I can get into, because I won't find what I wanted to read. So, okay. Tolkien's first notes on Middle Earth, Arda, which is Middle Earth is within Arda as a realm. His first notes were going to be the Silmarillion, but he first wrote The Hobbit as a tale that took place in this land, gave it to a publisher, and they liked it. And then they wanted a follow-up, and he gave them the Silmarillion. And so they got this. They were like, no, we can't publish this. It's just the way it reads. It's just too much like raw, just old mythology type. they just didn't think it would sell. So instead, he gave them Lord of the Rings, which was awesome. After his death, because I think the only other book I think that he published in the Middle Earth Legendarium was The Adventures of Tom Bombadil, I believe, or Bilbo's Last Song, maybe. I can't keep track of everything off the top of my head. After his death, Christopher Tolkien, his son, did get Silmarillion published. In addition to that, we got Unfinished Tales, which are just as they say, Unfinished Tales of Numenor and Middle-earth. It is much longer than the Silmarillion. So that's meant to Tolkien's son, not Dylan. So to say that it's something that he helped finish is kind of there and kind of wrong. So there are certain things like Silmarillion and Unfinished Tales where this stuff was written out by Tolkien and Christopher pretty much just, put it together a little bit better, packaged it up, gave it to a publisher. And then there's these things like the Histories of Middle-earth. I have not read all that stuff. It is way too long. That stuff is purely published by Christopher Tolkien, and I don't think I'll ever read that. It's just there's just too much. What I do have a problem with are books like this, The Children of Hurin, or Beren and Luthien. I thought that these were new books, new material that was coming out, so that's why I bought them. And they have these awesome illustrations and things like that. But then I learned all of the content in this book and in this book, nah, bruh. All of the content from these two books was previously published here. So in other words, they took material that was already out there and just packaged it up into one, hey, here's all of this stuff on this one character, take out all the stuff in between and put it together as a new book. It's kind of a money grab in a lot of ways. However, it does honor the Tolkien estate much better than Rings of Power. Rings of Power, I would enjoy Rings of Power if it wasn't Tolkien. If it was just fantasy, it'd be something that I would be like, okay, cool, it's okay. I think the only reason that show has as much popularity as it does, even with all of the people being upset with it, is because it's Tolkien. So what are my thoughts? I think it's good to be able to have the additional information about Tolkien's original stuff and all that, but it's not necessarily like required reading by any means. What you really want to do is just read the appendices attached to Return of the King. The appendices in Return of the King are pretty extensive, and they were written by Tolkien and published by him. J.R. Tolkien, that is. And it has a lot of the information that, again, is in here and in here. So between with those appendices, you'll pretty much get a full picture. It is unfortunate that someone like Tolkien, who created such a vast universe with all this detail, wasn't able to publish everything that he wanted to. But at the same time, it's a blessing because he only published that which he knew was ready to be published, that which he had perfected, that which he had spent all of his time on. So yeah, those are my thoughts. For additional reading, it's fun, but not necessarily required. I'll leave it at that. All right. Ryan, have you had a chance to read, if you're still there, have you had a chance to read Wind and Truth? I think that's, is that it? Yeah, Wind and Truth. No spoilers, if you have. I ain't trying to read all that. Got to stick to the canon. Yeah, a lot of it is like speculation because so many of his journals did have like contradictions and just things that he was still trying to work out. And his son admits that, and he always makes an editor's note at the beginning of each book. You know, going through all my father's notes is extremely difficult. So, you know, he basically had to go with the best thing that he could. Life's best guess, most educated guess for what matters. So, so it depends. Like, do you want, you know, there's these people who, life's too short. Yeah. Well, it just depends. Axel, do you want, if you just love Lord of the Rings and you just want to get into Middle Earth and everything, hey, maybe that's where you spend your life. Your life's task is to read all those books and just read them over and over. But you're right. There are so many fantasy books, so many just other books that are very good reads, very engaging other things to read. So, I think it just depends on your preference. And my preference is to move on to other fantasy as much as I love Lord of the Rings. And, you know, I've read the series 3-4 times now or whatever. Yes, Ryan has read Wind and Truth. Have you finished it? Actually, you might have signed off. Something about a newborn. Well, not a newborn. I guess Lewis is like 8 months old now. All right, you guys. It'd be cool if I could add a vote to the chat. Can I add a vote? I don't think so. Engage with your. Oh, heck yeah. Okay. What? Peace out, Boy Scouts. See you next year. Same time, same place. Have a good night, Ryan. Fantasy is like a good brunch for me. Super tasty and fun every once in a while, but not exactly breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Yeah, I can see that. I think my obsession with fantasy came from a young age, growing up with the Lord of the Rings movies. Being able to go to Return of the King at the midnight premiere was just incredible. Of course, I didn't read the books until I was much older, unfortunately. Um, and I think I was just obsessed with the. Well, it combined two things I love. I've always loved medieval history, and fantasy tends to be take place with medieval like customs, and then just adds magic. So it's kind of just built on like Once and Future King, which is right there, like Arthurian legend. Um, There's a new book in the Hunger Games series coming out. You can see my Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes there. I love young adult sci-fi dystopian stuff. I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully that'll come out soon. It'll come out in March. I know that. So I read. I think I read nonfiction more than anything. Like right now, I just got this, but I'm chewing my way through "We Who Wrestle with God" by Jordan Peterson. This book will test whether you know the English language. So I guess I don't like YouTube polls because I put in, I didn't put it, it only let me do yes or no, but I put in either or question. So I don't know what people are saying yes to or what they're saying no to. If you guys have questions, put them in the chat. Oh, let me go back to what I was saying about Lord of the Rings. Is that it combines like medieval history customs with so many Christian motifs. And a lot of people will point that, oh yeah, Tolkien didn't like allegory, but he also filled his stories with Christian motifs and themes and things. So not a very good argument to say, oh, he didn't like allegory, therefore it's not Christian. That's just completely ridiculous. I forgot to turn on my lava lamp. Ooh, I also have a drinking horn. This is from Drinking Horn Meadery in Flagstaff, Arizona. Went there with some friends, Sam. Fantasy is essential reading for younger people, and it's important for me to revisit and reconnect with that part of myself. There is something about, how do I put this lightly? The right fandom should be younger people, because fantasy is about things that aren't real. Which, fiction, non-fantasy stories are too, but at the same time, you want people to engage in something that's or you want, how do I put this? It's good for younger people to read, fantasy stories that have completely new worlds, and they can see the imagination of the authors, which is just awesome. But huge caveat there. It So I've seen so many fandoms that are in their, late 30s, 40s even, who are obsessed with fantasy books, and it's almost like, hey, maybe it's time to grow up. I understand enjoying. I mean, I'm reading fantasy books all the time too. But I'm not going to go to the book releases as a 30-year-old. I'm going to, move on and add more challenging stuff to my repertoire. Because my life shouldn't be made up of just the make believe. I live in the real world. And that's and something else with that, Axel, is that that's why I read Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter so often. I think between those two, I probably reread the series every 2 or 3 years. So this year, I think it's actually time to reread Lord of the Rings. Because I read Harry Potter over a year ago. I read that in 2023. So, but I'm hoping to also read Brandon Sanderson's books. So, Stormlight Archive, that is. I think at one point Tolkien said that he did everything that he did so that people can remember to use their imaginations, or something to that effect. It's like the man who created an entire universe. And he's like, yep, I just wanted to be sure that people know, hey, it's good to use your imagination. I agree. A supplementary reading of fantasy is important. Good. Yeah. Don't let it take over the rest of your good reading, especially the Bible, which mine is right there. While researching theories on various fandoms and storylines and things, on Reddit I've come across people who someone said, I basically treat Stormlight Archive, which is Brandon Sanderson's series, I treat it as my Bible. I've read it at least 20 times. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Imagine if you'd read the Bible 20 times. Imagine it. Stormlight Archive, those books are 1,000 pages, and they're big books. If I remember right, they're about half the length of a Bible. And I read that book in about 6 weeks. So I started thinking, does this mean 6 weeks, half the length of a Bible? Does that mean that I could read the Bible like 4 times a year if I was that dedicated? And that was kind of a humbling moment. Like, oh, maybe I don't have an excuse to to not spend more time in the Bible. And then other, theological and Christian living books as well. Okay, I have got to hit the hay. It was great to hang out with everybody tonight. I'm hoping to do a live stream once a month, but the schedule we'll see what the schedule allows. Tomorrow is the first episode of the year of Speeches and Stories, Lyrics and Letters. So be sure to be on the lookout for that. Cool room, by the way. Thanks, Axel. We just got it set up. You can see my sword, my lion mug, my no admittance sign I got that in New Zealand. Crystal gave me that monkey. It says I like you a whole bunch. And I'm surrounded by books. There's books behind me. You can't really see all of them. Books behind me to my left. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Speeches and Stories, Lyrics and Letters comes out tomorrow. I feel like I crashed a party. Oh, Bourbon Stacker. No, you did not crash a party. We are glad. I am so glad that you're here, my friend. I don't even know how you found this, but it's awesome. I always love new people. So I have such a small audience that I happen to know everybody in the live stream. So that's just, that is what it is. But I'm glad that there's one person. All party crashers welcome. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate that. You've been to Green Dragon in New Zealand? Dude. That's awesome. Yeah, my wife and I went in the fall of 2022, so it was sweet. Also, just incredible. So, yeah, well, Bourbon Stacker, I hope you subscribe. Get on over to Substack as well, dltucker.substack.com. That's where I send all sorts of stuff out. I'm a huge Tolkien nerd, C.S. Lewis fan, Christian theology writer, all sorts of stuff. So Ryan and I, fall of 2023. Did I say 2022? That's my wife, Crystal. She's always correcting me. Thank goodness she's here. Fall of 2023 is when we went. Yep. What was I saying? Yeah. Okay. So Speeches and Stories, Lyrics and Letters comes out tomorrow. And then after that, we have our Monday morning restart. And then we start the week over again on Wednesday with Wisdom Wednesday from Ryan. So be on the lookout for all that. But in order to get it all, you'll need to go over it and subscribe completely for free. dltucker.substack.com. You don't need a Substack account. It's just a newsletter. I deliver everything to your inbox. If you ever get annoyed, just mute me, but know that that's where I post everything for when I go live, and I share all sorts of stuff, and I just love talking to people. So anybody can get on there, send me a direct message, and I will definitely respond. So, all right. Well, with that, remember, everybody, the wind may blow, the rain may fall, and the wind may blow, but there'll still be many miles to go. See you next time.